This is a lot more work than I expected. We're doing more bus projects today. We are working on the flooring in the driver's area and generally just trying to spruce this area up a little bit. So right now, this is all the factory flooring and plastics and everything that the bus was built with. And so you can see we have a hole here from where the air intake used to be for the old over-the-road air system that got removed. So that needs capped. And we're going to try and put flooring over all of this old red floor here. So I think the first thing we're going to do is try and rip out most of what's here, and then we're going to put new flooring in on top of it. Let's get started. Lovely. You can see under that one I just took up. So these are glued on, but all sorts of junk is accumulated underneath these. So I think it's a good thing we're ripping these off. You know what they say, if you can't fix it with a hammer, you have an electrical problem. This is harder than it looks. So there's a metal layer under whatever this plasticky rubber stuff is. Now that we're getting under that metal layer, now we can actually kind of pry it off of there, but it's still stuck pretty good. This is a fight. This is a lot more work than I expected. There's a metal sheet underneath this material, and it has been carefully glued down. And you can see the back side of it that's where all this rust is from, because this is all stainless and this is plastic below it. But this metal sheet that this stuff is attached to is rusting back here, and I do not think this stuff was ever designed to be removed or serviced, because this is on here real hard. So 2 down, 2 here, this part, and then 1 more step to go. Not a fun job. I got to hand it to the manufacturer of this bus and the glue that they chose, because this bus is a 1997, so it is coming up on 30 years old, and this glue just would not give up without a fight. This step actually was pretty easy. That peeled right off, because you can see how much rust was under there. I think that was slowly lifting it off over time. But this one and that second to top one, absolutely brutal. The other problem is that this just popped off, so that makes me wonder if I need to take the rest of them off and re-glue them on too, because I don't want to get this all done with nice new flooring and then the rest of these come off. So I need to figure that one out. If you couldn't tell, I'm kind of making this up as I go. I don't really have a plan here. Just get the old stuff out, and then we'll figure it out from there. So let's see what happens next. Okay, that's a little better. You can kind of see what we're working with now a little better, but we still got a lot of this glue left on here and a lot of rust left. So let's see what we can do about cleaning this up. So this scraper is working pretty good. it's reasonably sharp, but I think my life's going to be a lot easier if I sharpen it a little bit to help get some of that glue off. Let's give that a try. Sharp tools are always better. Oh yeah, cuts right through it now. So I'm really trying to slice this off instead of scraping. It's a lot less energy and gives a much cleaner result. All right, I got most of this scraped off here, at least on these bottom steps. So next is we're going to use a drill brush and a little wire brush to try and get some of this additional stuff off, then onto the landing there. Let's see how this does. The drill brush didn't do an awesome job, so let's see how the wire brush does. This isn't doing much for the rust, but it is taking some of the dirt out of the corners, and that might be good enough because this is all going to get covered. But I wanted to at least get it down to a clean surface before we cover it all back up. All right, time for the landing. Let's see if I can get this off here. I think this is going to be, it's going to be a bear. Thankfully, this didn't have the metal plate under it, so we just had this nose piece here, which was pretty hard, but actually not as hard as some of the others so far. I still have some glue on here to scrape off, but this wood doesn't look too bad under here. You know, it's dirty and it's seen better days, but it's not rotted, at least not heavily. So I think we're going to be able to salvage this. I really didn't want to take this part out just because it's going to be a bother to work around that seat and the pedals and everything. But I think I'm going to go ahead and do it. That way we can just have a nice smooth surface all the way back. I was originally just going to go over it. But since this is already lifting up here, I think the right thing to do is just to take it all off and do one surface all the way across. So you just have to take this out and that's there. And then we figure out what's next. I'm hoping to do the same flooring we did in the rest of the bus, but we'll see how it goes. This is not going to be very fun, and this is kind of what I was afraid of. I ran into the same problem in the back of the bus, but this stuff it's all glued down, and it seems stuck on there pretty well, which is kind of what I was afraid of. So unfortunately, this is going to be kind of a lot of work. I think probably my best course of action is just to put my scraper under here, and I'm just going to have to tap all this out like this. And it's not the hardest thing in the world, but it's going to be kind of a bother. So let's see how long this takes. Just occurred to me that I probably should have tried using this oscillating tool at the very beginning, but we'll see if it works or not. Well, that worked pretty well. Yeah, should have done that probably earlier on. So we'll use that to finish the rest of this. Yes, I acknowledge that the proper way to do this would be to remove the seat. But I don't want to do that. So we're just going to trim around it for now. Someday I probably will replace the seat, but for now it works fine, and I'm just going to trim around it, and it's going to be good enough. I don't actually know how long that took. Maybe 30 minutes or so. Wasn't as bad as I expected. So oscillating tool, definitely recommend. It worked pretty well to trim around stuff like the pedals and back there. You probably couldn't see very well. I tried to film it back there, but it's pretty dark and hard to reach back around the pedal. But so now we just got to get it vacuumed out and cleaned up and onto this last stair tread here. That's what we wanted. Now we're under it. Heck yeah, there we go. Nice. Yeah, this one is in much better shape than the other steps. So here's where we're at. Relatively clean. Well, actually, still got a little glue right there, but looking pretty good. So you see how much of that, this flooring up here, you see how much of that I have. And I think the general plan is to put that on the treads. We'll leave the stainless steel backers, so I'll need a filler plate for that top one there. Then I'll do some trim around the transition there. And this is going to look a lot better. We might even get rid of the no smoking sign and the passenger safety sign. Who knows? Might keep them just for fun. Got two different kinds of scrapers here. You see which is most effective getting this old glue residue off the back of these here. This one's a like a razor blade style scraper. The blade's partially broken, but basically you can unscrew this thingy here and put in disposable utility blades in it, and see how this one does first. So this is a lot sharper, this one, compared to this, but this is a lot stronger than this. So we'll see which ends up being the best here. All right, one down, 3 to go. I think I have some liquid nails somewhere. I'm gonna put some on the back of here and stick them on there. So in theory, I think these are all the same. I guess I should probably confirm that. All right, I got some liquid nails left over from an old project. It says bonds to wood, treated wood, plywood, OSB, drywall, tile board, and more. And on the back, it lists a few more things, none of which are fiberglass or stainless steel. But we're going to try it anyway. Just trying to put some force on all this to spread that liquid nails out. For this last one here, I ran out of liquid nails, so I'm using wall-based adhesive. This is, you've seen like in a commercial building where there's like that 4-inch rubber baseboard essentially. And this stuff is what you use to glue that on. Probably not made for stainless or fiberglass, but we're gonna try it. We'll see which one sticks better, this or the liquid nails. But there's not really any force on these things, so I bet it's going to stick just fine. So I just had the idea. Originally, I was going to use my flooring and run it that way, left and right, horizontally, but I think that the spacing would be such that if it started at the back here, it'd probably only come to here, so I need to measure. But that means I'd be using like one and just a little bit of the next board, well, or simulation vinyl plank, and that's really wasteful. And you have a seam either right here or right there, and that's not really what you want. So I'm wondering if instead I'll cut and run everything that way, which might actually look better up at the top, that the wood grain is running away from you. And so I'll have more seams, but my material utilization will be far more efficient. So let me do some measuring and see if that makes sense. So here's one of my planks, and this is exactly, it's even worse than I had predicted. So you can see if we put this that direction, then it comes almost right to the edge, but not enough, especially since this would get trimmed off on that side, so it'd actually be scooted that way just a little bit. So this would be not good at all. So I think instead we're going to put these like that. Then I can cut them all to the perfect length. And you know, I will need some type of a trim, like a what are they called? The piece of trim that you put on the edge of stairs for exactly this kind of thing. So I'll need to put that on, but this will give me so much better use of my material, and I think it'll look better up here, going away from you instead of across. I think that this makes it seem more natural when you're walking with the direction of the grain. So let me let's measure and get some pieces cut and see what this is going to look like. I think 7.5 is the measurement to do. This is called a cross-cut sled. So this is a thing that I made called a sled that rides in a track in the table saw here. And this basically allows you to make very accurate, very repeatable cross cuts on a table saw. So I'm going to measure over where I want my cut to be, and I'm going to put a stop on my crosscut sled here. So I'm going to clamp this small piece of wood here, 7.5 inches away from the blade, so that when I put my material on here, I can put it like this, slide it over, and then I know that I have exactly 7.5 inches between here and the blade, and then I can do that for every cut, and every cut's going to be the exact same measurement. So I got 6 cuts, or 6 pieces out of one vinyl plank. We'll see how far that gets us in the bus. So we were just sliding this material over until it hit that stop, and then running this through the blade like that. So we only measured one time, and then we got 6 perfectly identical cuts. It's always better to do that and use a jig like that for repeatable cuts if you can. If you're trying to make a whole bunch of something all the exact same, it's way better to use some kind of a jig rather than to cut or to measure and cut each one individually, because you just, no matter how hard you try, it's just never going to be quite as accurate as if you used a jig. So let's see how well these fit in the bus. This is just a test fit. Cool. So it looks like we're gonna get, takes 3.5 to get me one full width here. So what we're gonna have to do is take this one out and trim off this little bit here at the end that's white. So that'll be nice and flush all the way up to the edge. So all I need to do here is measure what we need right here and go cut it. I hope you don't mind this figure it out as I go style. I know a lot of YouTube videos that people already have a great plan and they want to show you their perfect way of doing things. That's just not how I work. Very much is figuring out all of this live on camera for you, and so you're learning a little bit about me and how I think. It's probably not the most exciting to watch, but at least it's authentic. So this floor is designed to be free floating, but in this location, I think I might glue it down unless I need to go back to Menards, and maybe if I can find the right thing to put on the front here, maybe I could screw that into place and that would hold it down, and then I could leave it free floating. But other than that, I think I'm going to have to glue it down so it doesn't come off of there, because there's just not enough of it here to make it all stay, I don't think. I think I'm going to need one more box, unfortunately. Bummer. I'll just barely need another box. But I guess then I'll have spares. So we're going to go to the store, going to go to good old Menards. We're going to get some screws to hold this down, along with some new drill bits, because this is all stainless under here, and drilling into stainless is absolutely one of my least favorite things to do, and it tears through drill bits real fast. So I'm going to get some new drill bits, some panhead screws here, and another box of flooring, and then see if I can find a matching piece of trim that I can put on the front of here. So let's go to the store. So what I got is some aluminum, and it is gonna go on right like that. Ideally it would be stainless, but that is so much harder to work with and a little harder to come by too. So got some aluminum that's gonna be my stair nose there on all these, so I'll cut that down. And I got another box of flooring. So I think, oh, and I got some screws and drill bits. So we need to drill that and screw this down here so that this doesn't do that anymore. And then we should be off to the races. So let's see how this goes. Also, as of right now, it is Friday, October 17th at 1 o'clock in the afternoon Eastern Time. We are currently 4 subscribers away from being monetized on YouTube, so thank you to everybody. This is super exciting. I did not expect this to happen so fast, so really happy about it, super excited. So I got some self-tappers, but I have learned from experience that no self-tapper that I have ever used, including these ones, will self-tap into stainless. It is just way too hard. So there used to be screws through here, but these are all rusted off. So I'm going to drill new holes, pre-drill with a cobalt bit that is made for stainless. We're going to pre-drill and then run these self-tappers down in there, suck this down, and then we'll put the floor on. Actually, that went way better than expected. So I'm just going to put a little countersink on these so the screw heads will be nice and flush. We'll run those screws in. It wasn't too bad. Some people don't know, but there's actually different angles and tapers to a traditional Phillips bit, and if you don't have the right one, it's not going to work very well. But if you do have the right one, the screws should stick on there pretty well. So finally found the right one. Should make this easier. Way better. Beautiful. I will need to do something about this edge right here, but we'll jump off that bridge when we come to it. So now what we need to do is I need to measure this distance here and cut 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces for that. Actually, this one, look at that. This one is wider than those because on this one it goes all the way over there and these ones stop. So cut 1 special, 3 the same, and then we'll get into up there. So we need 3 that are 5 1/8, and then we need 1 that is 6 1/4. Let's go cut them. Okay, that's great. And we're just going to take this aluminum, we're going to put it on like that, and we'll put some screws in the front face of it here. I think we'll be good. So we just need to put the rest of these on, cut that other special piece, and we'll see how this looks when we get that done. Also, it is now 1:21, and we are 1 subscriber away from 1,000 subscribers, and for us that'll be monetization since we already have enough watch hours. So very exciting day. I actually just checked again. We did it. 1,000 subscribers. Thanks everyone. Decided I'm going to try and glue this on. I think that if I put the adhesive right along here, and that'll hold that on nicely, and then there won't be any screws to look at, which I think would be best. So let's see if it works. Got these next ones cut, so we're going to put them on just like the other one. Worst case, if they fall off, I can screw them on later. This glue will just scrape off and no holes have been drilled. So I think that this is definitely the easiest and cleanest way to start. If I don't like it, we'll reevaluate it later. Okay, so 3 of them are done. I think that looks very nice. We need to cut our specialty piece here. Then probably, since I'm in the stair mode, I'll work on those steps and then do this part last. Just like that, we have some new steps. Onto the steps up here, and then the landing, we'll do that last. But I think this is a dramatic improvement from our previous factory setup here. I need to get or make a stainless steel closeout panel for this because that is very ugly. So we need to do some measuring and cut out a piece of stainless that will cover that hole and screw it into place. Just a hair under 16. So we'll do 15 7/8 by 4.5. All right, so we found this sheet of material that I have, and what I'm going to do is use a square, and instead of a Sharpie, which is pretty fat and not very accurate, I'm going to use an old screw and scratch on here exactly the profile I want, and then we'll cut it out. If you look carefully, you can see how this is scratched on here, and that line is super thin, much thinner than a Sharpie. That makes your cuts a lot more accurate. You measure small, you miss small. Okay, this is a sheet metal cutter, head shear, I guess. And so it's kind of like a really heavy-duty pair of scissors. Honestly, I don't know if it's rated to cut stainless this thick, but we're going to give it a try. That worked a treat. Beautiful. That was great. Let's go see if it fits. Look at that. That is so much better. If you've never used a rivet before, this is what it looks like before you get started. So you have a center shaft here that goes through this head with a hole in it. Then it has a little mushroom here at the bottom. And basically what happens is you use a tool like this, or I have a pneumatic version that's faster but more setup than we need for this application here. But so basically this goes into here, and then this tool pulls on the shank, and this mushroom head swells out the back side of this enlarged part here. Once it's put through 2 layers of material, then it basically sandwiches everything together for a permanent fixing. First thing we have to do is drill some holes. Just drilled 1 hole. We're going to show you how this works. So you put this through, and you got to make sure it goes through both layers. Okay? Open your gun up here, then crank it, and we're done. So that back side swelled out, then this breaks off, and this little head is all that you're left with there. So we'll do 6 of these, and that'll hold this in place forever. That was pretty quick and easy. I think it looks pretty good. These little rivet heads are smaller and cleaner than a big ugly screw head. So now that big ugly hole is gone, and it matches pretty closely to the rest of this. If anything, it's just cleaner. So maybe we can actually shine these up to match that. So that was easy enough. Now let's do the stairs. So for whatever reason, I did decide I'm going to glue these ones down just because they're so small, and there's just not a lot of room for them to have any mass of their own. Just stick these down. And so this is just an experiment for you. I'll let you know if some of these come off or some of them don't, or if I have problems with them in the future. I'm guessing they'll all be fine, but maybe not. So if you see me post another video about these steps, you'll know that I learned something and that one of these methods didn't work. Wonder which one it'll be. But so this looks nice. Just need to cut some aluminum for the front here. Got the aluminum cut and put on, so that plate is done. These steps are glued in. The the nose piece there is glued on, and now we just have to work on this landing here. So this is going to be a little tricky. It's just going to be a lot of trim work. So, you know, like this first piece here has to have something in here, so it has to have a cutout, and this is just going to be a lot of measuring and cutting to fit around all these curves and stuff. And I don't think it's going to be that hard, but it's going to be tedious, and I don't love tedious things. So let's see how it goes. Quick update here. So I got to working on this, and I was trimming out the top here with some more aluminum, and I decided to use some more rivets because they worked so well for this that I just kind of thought, you know what, that's a really great way to do the rest of this. Then I was like, you know what, while I'm at it, why don't I put some rivets in here? So I think I'm going to put rivets in all the little nose pieces, because I'm worried that that glue is just not going to be strong enough, because when you're coming down, and I think there's going to be a lot of force trying to slide those things off. So I'm just going to drill some holes and rivet all of these into place, just because it's pretty quick and easy, and I think it's going to work really well. So I'll show you how this works. So now that is on there really solid, and that only took, I don't know, 60 seconds. So I think I'm going to do that for the rest of them. All right, just cut this piece. Let's see if it fits. It's pretty good. So this is what we had to do. We had to trim it. We had to cut it out for that there. So we're going to silicone around in here to keep dirt and junk from getting down behind there. And so that fits nicely there. So that piece wasn't too bad. The next piece will go here, and it's just going to need one notch around that chair. This piece here was a real bother. So we had to cut it around this piece here. We had to cut it around this pedal, that pedal, and notch it out up there. So this one was a little bit of a pain. We just about have this one wrapped up here. So I got all this done, trimmed it out, and added this little filler piece here. And so really all that's left to do is I'm going to get some caulking, and I'm going to go around all these edges here just to fill in any little gaps. And I think that that's probably going to be the end of this project. So I hope you like this one. Don't forget to subscribe and stay tuned for future projects. Next thing's coming up for the project side of things is we're going to do some trim in the kids' bedroom. I don't know if you watched that bunk build video, but we kind of left that quick and dirty, and so now we're going to do some trim in there, make that look a little better. After that, the next huge project is solar on the roof. We're going to put a ton of solar panels on the roof of this bus, and I'm going to bring you along for all of that. And hopefully I'm going to get that done in the next couple weeks, because 3 weeks from now we are taking this rig to Florida for a couple weeks. We're going to do the Keys and the Miami area and a couple other places. So stay tuned for that. But it's crunch time. We gotta get this thing going. So I'll show you how I finish this project up here with the silicone, and then we'll be done with this one. I think that's a wrap. So we just put some silicone around the edges here. The whole point of this is just to keep dirt from falling down behind these laminate panels here, and then eventually like lifting them up. So I think that it just kind of trims it out nicely, and that's it, guys. That's all for this one. So we put aluminum over there, aluminum over here, and I think this is quite the transformation. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.